I want to talk today a little bit about, kind of piggyback on what I talked about last week about the prayers, courageous prayers and that kind of thing. Friday is our spiritual emphasis day, right? And it's a big deal. This is what we're about. This is why we do what we do here, I mean, this is our spiritual focus. That's why we exist as a school. Otherwise, don't even have a school, right? There's plenty of schools around. But our focus is a little different. And so I'm excited about that, and I hope you're excited about it, and I hope you'll continue to be excited about it, be thinking about it. There's some preparation that has to be done on your part. It's not just to show up and get entertained. This is something for your benefit, but it's something that you have to get something out of. And I wanted to talk a little bit, real quickly, got a lot to read, but about expectations, about what your expectations are for Friday. Have you thought about that? Probably not. I'd like you to take a second and think about that. What are your expectations for Friday, for Spiritual Emphasis Day? It's worth thinking about, don't you think? Psalms 5:3, it says, "In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my request before you and wait in expectation." David knew about praying with expectations, laying his request before God, and then just kind of wait and see what's going to happen with it. And then kind of dovetails into what we talked about last week about those courageous prayers, about praying to God for those things that maybe are outside our comfort zone, things that would stretch us a little bit, more specific prayers. And there's a lot of verses in here. I don't know if I read all these, but Jesus over and over and over talks about, in our prayers, things we ought to be praying for, how we ought to pray. He talks in Matthew 7, he talks about asking you will be given you, seeking you will find, knocking will be opened to you. So the message is you've got to pursue those things. It's an act, it's something that's active for us. Okay? In John 15:7, he says, "If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you." There's a promise. And you ask it, it'll be done. Now there's a caveat there. My word has to abide in you, and you abide in me. "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and the fruit should remain, that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you." John 15:16. Whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you. Hey, make sure you pay attention to me, okay? I like you to look at me when I'm speaking. I know that you're paying attention. "Most assuredly, I say to you, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you. Until now, you have asked nothing in my name. Ask and you will receive, that your joy may be made full." So Jesus is telling you, you can ask in my name and expect it. You're going to receive it. My favorite book in the Bible is James. I really like the book of James. There's a lot in there about prayer. There's 4 perspectives I want to look at. Again, it's kind of unusual, something I don't usually do, but I want to talk about our expectations and what James talks about and some of the examples that he talks about. Again, thinking about what your expectations are for Friday. James gives an example of somebody that prays with no expectations. Have you ever done that? Or you don't have any expectations at all of God. You prayed before and nothing happened, so probably not going to happen anymore. Friday's going to be just another day. In James 4:1-2, it says, "Where do wars and fights come from among you? Do they not come from your desires or pleasures that war in your members? You lust and do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and war, yet you do not have because you do not ask." You don't even ask. There's no expectation there. We certainly don't want to be in that boat, right? We want to expect that God's going to do great things, that he's going to change our hearts, and he's going to give us renewed focus, renewed energy. So don't be like that. That guy doesn't even ask. No expectations at all. The next one you might have is wrong expectations. And in James 4:3, it says, "You ask and do not receive, because you ask amiss, that you may spend it on your pleasures." Those are those people that are asking God, "Dear Lord, please give me a pony." Something, just a selfish prayer, just for me. And that's the wrong motive. All these promises that Jesus made in the beginning, there's there's some stipulations there. They can't be selfish prayers. You have to be within God's will. His Word has to be within you. Okay, so certainly you're not going to gain anything with no expectations. And certainly if you've got the wrong expectations, it's going to not be productive for you. What about double-minded expectations? James talks about this one too. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all men liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. God's going to do great things. I hope. Maybe he won't. I don't know. Maybe he will. Nah, probably not. That doesn't get you anywhere. Okay? A prayer of expectation, like David prays, is not, oh, I hope it happens. It's like, I'm going to ask God for the things that I need and believe that He's going to give them. I'm going to sit here and wait and see what kind of awesome stuff He does. So don't be the double-minded one. You know, sometimes you got faith, sometimes you don't. That guy is not going to get anything. So James says, finally you get the right way. Pray with single-minded expectation. Is any among you sick? Let him call for the elders of the church. Let him pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of faith will save the sick, and the Lord will raise him up. That's one right there. That's an example of a prayer. Somebody that had a single-minded expectation. Came, somebody's sick, and they came and prayed, and God did something. So the question for you is, what is your expectation? I do not want to go into the rest of this week, going into Friday, with no expectations from God. If you're here and you don't expect something on Friday, why are you here? I guess is my question. If you're going into Friday with the wrong expectation, you're going to be sorely disappointed. If you go with no faith, with double-minded expectation, you're going to be disappointed, and it's going to be like all the other times that we go to God with wrong expectations or with little faith, and nothing happens. But Jesus promised us that if we go to the Father, and we go within God's will, in Jesus' name, He said we could do that, and we go and we expect great things, we expect God to change our heart, our minds, our attitudes, our focus. We expect that our school will look different, that our community will look different. If we go in with those expectations, like David said, we're going to place them before the Lord and sit back and watch, basically, then I think we're going to see something tremendous on Friday. I'm disappointed because, and I know how things go, but we got some folks who are cutting out, trying to not be here. That is very disappointing because they don't get it. They don't get it. I'm sorry if that's offensive, but they don't get it. This is the most important thing we do for the whole school year. Sorry, math teachers, science teachers. This is it. We could go to God with the proper expectations, with our minds right and our heart right, and we could change our lives forever. It could be different. Academics are very important, but there's no formula that's going to change your life forever like God can. I want you to think long and hard this week about the direction that you're going. I want you to think about where you are now and what your expectation of God is. Please, whatever you do, don't set it too low. That's insulting to a God that can create a universe by speaking it into existence. Don't insult God with no expectation. This is a God that has all power and that loves you so much that He gives His Son to die for you. He is waiting on go. He is waiting for you to open your heart, and He is waiting to do great things there. This could be a day that changes your life. So be in prayer.